Welcome to Saathwic Infotech DevOps series. As part of this series, we are looking into GitHub, how to work on a GitHub, what are the commands we are going to use and everything, right? So, as part of this today's session, we are going to see about how do we avoid these conflicts and merge. Okay. Basically, right? See, avoiding conflict and merge cannot be done. There are situations which we everybody can face, but let's try to learn how to tackle it, right? What are the best practices which we can follow in order to overcome that? So, in yesterday's session, we have seen there is a main branch where we are creating two branches. Okay, and there is a development going on CA branch, as well as there is a development going parallelly on CA1 branch also, and there are some production issues which is being worked on main branch. So when I merge, there will be a conflict between the main branch and the CA branch, because there is a new development happened in main and there is some development happened in CA1, which CA does not aware of what is the changes went in main. So that's where when I try to raise a pull request, I am getting a merge conflict where I did manually fixing those everything in my Git UI. Okay, which is not the best practice of doing it. This is not the appropriate way of doing it. Okay, even in our earlier session, I have just given you an example saying that there is a way to fix those conflicts and then do a push from your local. Okay, how to do that and everything is what we are going to see today. Okay, basically, let's see a command called git pull. Okay, so what is git pull? Git pull is something like it's going to pull the code from your remote branch and going to integrate the changes of remote in your local. So that's all about git pull, right? So basically here there are two things happening. When it says like, okay, pulling the code from the remote branch and integrating to your local, it's something like it's doing a git fetch operation. Okay, it fetches the code from the remote and going to put it in your local. It's called as git fetch. In git we do have a separate command called git fetch. Okay, that's the purpose of git fetch. Okay, it's going to take your changes from the remote and going to put it in your local. But there are major chances that, okay, you can expect a conflict. Okay, conflict handling will not be done by git fetch. Okay, if there are no changes, there is no conflict, then git fetch will work like a charm. Okay, so in order to overcome that, git has came up with another command, okay, called git pull. Okay, what is git pull? Is a combination of two commands. Okay, what are those combination of two commands? Okay, let me clear that all this out, right? One second. Eraser. Okay, great. So basically git fetch going to pull from remote and sync in local. Okay, in case of any merge conflict, it's not going to do anything. You have to manually do a git merge. Okay, git merge is another command which will fix the issues in the local. Fix the conflict issues in the local, or it will again give you, it says like, okay, I cannot able to merge this correctly. There are some conflict. You have to manually take action. So whereas like we do manually go and remove those things, whatever we seen in our yesterday's session, however we did in the UI. Okay, now git has come up with a great command called git pull. Okay, basically what is this command? Okay, it does the work of git fetch and git merge together. Okay, so rather than executing these two commands, we can going forward execute git pull. This is the wonderful command which has been provided by the git in order to rather than doing like multiple steps in order to solve these issues, right? Okay, great. So again guys, this is going to be one of your important interview question. Difference between git pull and git fetch. Git fetch is going to just fetch the code and try to sync or integrate in your local. In case of any merge, it does not fix any merge issues. But whenever it's a git pull, it fetches the code as well as do the git merge internally. So that's why we always prefer to use git pull. Okay, as a developer or a DevOps engineer or the people whoever is using the DevOps, right? Say you whoever is using Git for their code versioning or right, so they will be always using git pull. There will be multiple times you will be using git pull. Okay, then let's think about a scenario. So let's take a main branch again. Main is again a branch, right? So let's go with the main branch. So let's assume like main branch is been worked by two people, a b. So a and b are working on a main branch. Okay, what happens is a did both cloned the main branch. Okay, cloned main. Okay, so both did the clone. So a and b have the same set of working copies. Okay, what a did, a is going to do some changes because it's like kind of a critical production issue. Did some change and pushed to prod or raised pull request. Basically it's a main to main, right? So it's pushed to prod only, no pull request will come into picture. Pushed to prod. So it is because we are working on a main branch, so there won't be any concept of pull request here. If you're working on a different branch, then a pull request comes into picture. Okay, so what happened? A cloned the main branch and did some changes and pushed to prod. So what happens to B? B is still working on the code, and has some local commits. Means is still testing the code. He committed some of the changes locally, not to the remote. Okay, and is still testing the code. Whereas A completed the change and pushed the change to production. What what does it really mean to us, right? So now first thing is, one second, let me bring this little bit up. Okay, main, remote main, basically I put as remote main branch as latest code. Second observation what we see is B is working on old code and not the latest. Okay, so the third observation is, does this man? Okay, third observation is B has some local changes. Guys, try to understand. A, basically after these things are done, the observation what we has, remote main branch as latest code, because the changes along with A, main plus A is there. Basically I will type main plus A. Okay, but B is working on the same old code. Okay, which does not have A. Basically it's a main, not A changes. Okay, and is still continuing to do and have some local changes which B has done as part of his feature release or maybe as part of his work. So let's try to replicate this in our GitHub and see how the code behaves and how the pull command behaves and everything. Right, let's jump on to our practicals. Okay, let me go here. Let's go to our testing branch. Okay, git status, let me see if any conflicts are there. Okay, see my brain branch is up to date. Okay, what let us do. Okay, let's, because I don't want to create multiple clone copy of that and work on it, right? So let me do the changes directly here itself. What I'm going to do, let me take, this is the A change. Okay, because ex1 ex2 ex3, let me open ex1. Okay, it has like 1 2 3 7 lines. Open this file, it should also have 7 lines. Okay, so this is the copy of original main. Now I am going to do the file, edit this file, because this is my A change. Let me remove this line, edit. Okay, now totally we have 6 lines. I am going to commit it. Okay, I put as A commit. Okay, great. So A has committed the change. git status. This is the guy B. Now B also had the same code cloned from main, but he is not even aware of what A has changed because he is not following any of the best practices and he still continue to do the code. Okay, what he is doing is he is working on the code B, means ex2. It has only one line here. We will check here also in the remote also just to ensure that there is no changes. Ideally it should not. Okay, only one line. So what B is doing, he is adding some new code. Echo B changes. So B has done something and he has added the code git commit -m B changes. Okay, so now what happens is A has done some changes and B has done some changes in a different files. Okay, now if I push, nothing is going to impact anything because it's all different file. But as a best practice, what we need to do is always keep our local copy, which is our local repository, up to date. So if we want to keep your local copy up to date, the option which has been provided is git fetch and git merge. Okay, ideally I don't want to take too long of your time. Okay, so directly we will go into git pull, which is going to do both the operations. Okay, let me do git pull. Okay, before I do this, right, let me commit these changes. Let me push these changes also. Rejected, updates rejected because remote contains what you do not have locally. Okay, great. So basically what it says, it's asking us to pull because A has some changes, right? Okay, this one has changes. Okay, A's changes was not there in our local, that's why. Let me try to git pull. Okay, let's see, because I thought of explaining you this in other way. Let me open the git pull. So what does git pull says? Git pull says, hey guys, you have two different changes in two different places. Mean to say that your main branch, okay, your main branch has a different commit for this file ex1. Ex file has a different commit, okay, which is not there on your local, and you have a different commit in your local which is not there in remote branch. So how do I combine these two? How do you want guys to handle this? Okay, that's what git pull saying is. Okay, and also as usual it's suggesting us to do something else. Okay, this is what I mentioned, right? Git pull is a combination of git fetch and git merge. Okay, now it's trying to fetch the code and trying to do a merge. During the merge process it's getting a conflict. Okay, that's why we are getting into an error. So if in this kind of error we can easily sort this out by doing a rebase, means that take only the commit from remote and add it to my local. Okay, that's what rebase do. Okay, basically what it does is fetches the code from the remote and integrate it to local. It doesn't really bother about our local conflict. Okay, let me show you how do I do. Git pull hyphen rebase. Okay, when I do hyphen rebase, what it does? It does a rebase operation so that still my local changes will be there. I need to manually push that after my rebase is complete. Okay, great. So Kumar, you mentioned that okay, always it will say like okay, it gives you the command, but this time the command is different. What you type and what is there. Okay, if you read through this message, you will really understand. Means that hey guys, it's saying hey guys, as a best practice, whenever you do a git pull, set one of this option as part of your default configuration. What it says, either keep like git pull rebase false, which means it's try to merge. Okay, most of the time merge will give you an error. Okay, fast forward is something I will show you in a few minutes. Okay, git pull rebase true. If I set this option, it's going to update these details in my config file which is present under .git directory, so that when I enable this operation going forward, when I use git pull, it internally means that it's git pull hyphen rebase. Okay, that's the example it's giving below. See, you can replace git config global, set the preferences for all repositories. You can also pass hyphen rebase, no rebase or ff only in the command line to override the configured parameter. So that's what I am going to do. I am using hyphen rebase option. I will show you how this updates your config file also in a second. Okay, let me pull that and synchronize. Let us synchronize our code. Okay, before I even do this, git config ex1.txt. Let's see what is the, oh sorry, git log ex1.txt. Okay, for ex1, okay, whatever the commit we have is for September 10. The message is updated ex1.txt. Okay, watch this commit ID, it will get changed now. That's why I want to show you. Now git pull hyphen rebase. Let's see what happens. It should say rebase completed, and yeah. Now if you look at the same option, you got the A commit now. It rebases in the sense it takes the commit and the complete details from the remote and add it to your existing local. Okay, now great. Now if you do git status, again you should not forget there is a changes which we have done, which is present still in local. Okay, that's why if you see your branch is ahead of origin main by one commit, means that you have committed something in your locally which is not yet pushed to remote. So now we can very well, because we have handled the issues and everything now in the server itself, now I am good to push it. Okay, great. Git status, because if you guys look at, before doing the git rebase I cannot push, it might have errored out, it has errored out, actually we have done this, right? It has errored out. So git status, now everything is fine. Okay, let me explain how does git fetch and git things works, right? So what I do, let me again do the changes in ex1 file. What I am going to do, I am going to edit manually here. Let's assume someone is doing the changes which is does not conflicting yours. Edit, great. Okay, I will put like manual changes in remote. Okay, great. So now if you look at git status, our git does not know what's happening in the remote, right? It does not know even. Now look at git log ex1.txt. It just says a commit, but there is a latest commit happened in remote. If I want to get the commit, either you go with git pull or git pull rebase. Okay, both is the safest option which you can go with. Okay, that is the recommended option which you have to try, but I am going to explain you about like git fetch and everything manually. Okay, let me give git fetch, because as there is no local changes it will work fine. So what it's saying is just pulled something and it fetched everything, and it says unpacking object, main is origin branch. Let's see. Okay, still the fetches happen, but it did not reflected. Okay, okay. So after the git fetch, the code get pulled from the remote, but you need to manually reset, right? Git reset hyphen hard origin slash main. Here, see, now it says head is now at this one, manual changes in remote. Okay, git status. Okay, let's say if an ltr, so cat, oh shoot. Okay, now we have that edit. So this is a problem with the git, right? Okay, you need to manually fetch that and reset your main and then everything. So and also if there is any conflict you have to run git merge also. So that's the reason we always go with git pull. Okay, now one more thing, let's see how does the same scenario work with git pull. Okay, so let me show that 1 second. Okay, so let's see how to do the same with our thing, right? So let's go here let me edit this. The same file, I'm going to remove this file. So there is a remote change here, committing. So remote changes, commit. Okay, now we know there is no changes we have done, right? So we are in the same place. Okay, get status. Now we know we have not done any changes in the local. So when I do git pull without any changes in my local, it fast forward by default. Okay, git pull. Now, fast forward is nothing but when there is a higher version, higher commits in remote and lower commits in local, it fast forwards. That's it. It's simple as that. Okay. So if I do git pull, it automatically by default do a fast forward. Okay, you will see that, right? So it fast forwarded something. So for the same scenario, if I use git fetch, I need to use git fetch and reset. So go to, I am manually saying that, okay, reset my head position to this one. Everything we need to do. Whereas with the git pull, it's not all the case. It's just simply do. If you go and see the file, you will see the changes. Okay. I hope you understood git pull, git fetch and everything in detail. In case if you guys have any doubts, just try to comment in the comment box. If you like this video, just subscribe our channel and just click on a like button and share with your friends too. Thanks for watching.